I am your host, Rufina Antonetti. And so we have had a long journey here at Talk Straight Bible these past few weeks, talking about when the odds are against you. And today is the final part of this series. You know, we've heard all about the battle and the events that resulted directly from it. And we've come to that final conclusion. Midian has been defeated, and the land has 40 years of rest under the leadership of Gideon. But that's not the end of Gideon's history and story. It seems that when the days of his fighting for God were over, he has made himself easy and has begun to give into the lusts of the flesh. Excuse me. Christians, after a victory as leaders, we cannot rest. We cannot be so satisfied with what we have already achieved that we make no further effort. We must take up the full armor of God, not only during the day of the struggle, but also having done everything, stand. So today, I'm going to do something. It's going to seem a little weird, but I'm going to talk about, we're going to go finish this series with the dash. I know you're probably asking yourself, what's the dash? The first time I heard about the dash was through Pastor John, the senior pastor of our church. Whenever he does a funeral, he mentions the line in the middle of the date the person was born and the date the person died. There is a dash. And that dash, he says, represents what you have done in life from the time you were born to the time you died. If you look at the dash, because I was thinking about this, the dash, when you print it from the computer, it's always the same size. It's a dash, right? But if we look at the dash as representative of our life, some are longer than others, even though on paper it's the same size. Because every dash, if it represents a person's life, their lives are different. We're all unique, created by God to do certain things and have different and have a purpose that He has ordained for us. So no dash, no life is the same. Some are shortened, and some are longer. And so the Bible, even though it doesn't speak about when Gideon was born, if I was to sum up that dash to represent his life from the moment that we pick it up in 6, I would say, in chapter 6, I would say he was born to fulfill a call on his life that he would never have dreamed of. God brought him out of hiding and fear because he saw a warrior and made him one. God taught him to trust him and follow his commands. God taught him to listen, how to fight, how to win. But after the victory, Gideon took it easy. He allowed himself to indulge on the finer things of life and put his guard down. He went and lived in his own house, had 70 sons, because he had many wives. He died at a good advanced age and was buried in the tomb of Joash, which was his father, and Oprah. of the Bezerites. Then it came about, as soon as Gideon was dead, the Israelites again played the prostitute with Baals and made Baal-beths their god. And the Israelites did not remember the Lord their God, who had rescued them from the hands of all their enemies on every side, nor did they show kindness to the family of Gideon in return for all the good that he had done for Israel. So Gideon, more than likely, he lived like a king in luxury, prosperity, despite not literally being a king. But he held profound influence in Israel. But at the end of his dash, the people went right back to where they started. And his son, Abimelech, did evil in the sight of God and rules over the people 3 years. You can see his story in chapter 9. Remember, when the odds are against you, it is only for a season. God will give you a season of rest also. But that too is only for a season. As long as we are here, we need to beware, be vigilant, be sober, be alert, watch, and pray. The Bible says in Ecclesiastes, starting at 3:1, there is a season, a time appointed for everything, and a time for every delight, an event, or purpose under heaven. And a time to be born, and a time to die, a time to plant, a time to uproot what is planted, a time to kill, a time to heal, a time to tear down, and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to throw away stones and a time to gather the stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to search and a time to give up as lost, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear apart and a time to sew together, a time to keep silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. As we continue to study the book of Judges, and hopefully you will do that on your own, it's a great study, you're going to find that after Gideon, there were other judges. Why? Because the people of God continued with their rebellious and adulterous ways. To this day, Israel is still going through. Continue to pray for Israel. You know, Abimelech, he was not a judge. He was Gideon's son, but he wasn't put in place as a judge. He just assumed the power over Manasseh and brought about civil war within the tribes of Israel. Sometimes people put themselves in places. His end wasn't too good either. And in the middle, it wasn't that great either. Samuel and his sons are listed as the last judges before they came into the age of having kings. I had this final thought. What does our dash look like? That dash, those dates are usually on the front of a person's obituary. And when you open up that obituary, it tells the story of when you were born, to whom you were born to, And then it goes on to tell the story about who you were in life, what you did, what you accomplished. So, what will they write about us when we're gone? What will that dash represent in our lives is the question that we should ask ourselves. What are we doing for the Lord? You know, the Lord called us to great exploits, but we have to be in place. We have to be as Gideon, trusting in God, following his commands, learning to listen, knowing how to fight, and being humble when we win. And never fall asleep after your victory. Keep your eyes on the prize. There was only one that has total victory over life and death, and that was Jesus. He was born. He lived. He did great and marvelous things in his life. Then he went to the cross for us, each and every one of us. He died, but he rose again, and he's still alive. And he is giving us opportunities that, like Gideon, we would have never dreamed about. Learn to listen. What is your dash? What does your dash look like? And what will they write about you when you're gone? God bless you. Thank you so much for stopping in. Thank you so much for being a part of Talk Straight Bible. And if you've missed any of these parts, you can go to YouTube, Talk Straight Bible, look for the playlist, and you will find them all there. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. And until we meet again, Shalom.